Hey, everybody. Okay. After a long awaited adieu, yo, 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 Alpha Sales, what's happening? Okay, we'll let some people chomp back on again because, like I said, I was going to be a minute. So let's hit it and see what happens. Logan C says, "Hey, finally glad to be able to catch one of your lives. Yeah, well, good to have you. I'm glad that you're there. So I am trying to find." So have y'all ever seen the Knox logs? Need the beard back, he says. I don't know. We'll see. Beards get itchy. So, and I have enough trouble managing hair. I haven't had hair in years, so I have trouble managing that as it is. Um, Justice for Pocket Big says, he says, we need the 2018 live stream days with J Mix. Yeah, I know. Well, I'm trying to get him out here. So if I can, I will. I was looking to see if there was anything interesting in the Kenneth Knox logs. I didn't know that. Well, that's interesting. I was looking at, hey, what's happening, Kazi? Okay. So we were talking a minute ago when I had to take care of some family business. Um, we were talking a little bit ago about the idea that the fight got out much sooner than anybody expected it to. And we actually put out an idea. We floated an idea, okay, that the one Justice for Pocket Big, Kenneth Knox was, I don't believe he was the one that had his computer erased when he had evidence of back in Perez at Death Row Studios. I think that was Yame Crystal was the one who had her computer erased, but I could be wrong, but I think that's the name that had her computer erased. And what's happening, everybody, Kazi and all that. Okay. So, and Gunsmoke, really? Hold on, there's whiskey. Yo, we're getting some OGs in the house now. What is happening? Hold on. Let me go up here. He said Gunsmoke was there. Where? I don't see you. D'Angelo's here. What's up? I love it. Okay, hold on. Whiskey. Okay, Gunsmoke. Yeah, whiskey. I'm looking for Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke. Good. There was actually a user named Gunsmoke that was there. So you're not as crazy as you sound. So there's Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke the Don is there. Well, there you go. Wow. So all right. So let's go back to this idea for a minute. There was an idea, and I really kind of wanted to pursue it and talk about it for a minute. There was an idea that um, the fight got out early, really early, and a lot of people who would think, well, how could it possibly be set up if it was predicated around doing it after the fight? But the fight got out way early, so that would have complicated things. And I put the idea forth that, well, maybe the whole idea of going to Suge Knight's house was actually just a big reset. I mean, because you got to realize the guy lived on the other side of Las Vegas. Okay. And I don't know if I can actually pull this out, but let me see if I can do something real quick with you guys. I'm going to cook you up something real quick, kind of like what we did with the MGM, since that everybody's kind of like that. So we're gonna. Do, 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 do. Well, I know that's not it. Give me 2 seconds, kids. I'm on it here. I'm. And by the way, there is a rumor about Suge Knight's home that it was used in the movie Casino. It was not used in the movie Casino. It was the house that Robert De Niro rented when they filmed the movie Casino in Las Vegas. He rented that same house years later, just so you all understand that. So we're going to make sure that we take a look at that. All right, where is the pin now? Here it is, right here. Okay, very good. All right, so we're going to have some fun here. Let's go to the magic screen, shall we, kids? Woo! We're going to the magic screen, and the magic screen today takes us to Suge Knight's house. Woo! Okay, well, there it is right there. There is the house that Suge Knight owned while he was in Las Vegas. There it is. And I'm not going to let you go to Street View on that. Because all you see when you go to Street View is you get the guard gate, and that's what you get. Now, the whole idea that Suge Knight was, the fight got over. I don't know if you guys have been to a casino or not. I'm assuming everybody has at one time or another. And I don't know how many of you have ever been to Vegas. Getting to your car from a casino is a pain in the ass. Let's just put it out there. Getting to your car is a pain in the ass when you're in Las Vegas, because you have one of two options. You either valet park, which means in the MGM, you literally walk across like 8 lanes of traffic because people are coming and going, and you have the shuttles and taxis and everything else. You got to walk all the way to the other side. Valet is actually on the far side of that road, the 8-lane road, and you walk and you give them your ticket. And then depending on how busy the night is, the valet can take for freaking ever to get you your car. The only other thing you can do is you can walk back to self-parking, and you can go get your car, but you have to walk through the entire width of the casino to get to self-parking. It's crazy. So knowing that they're actually going and getting their car, or anybody's getting a car from valet, yes, it's faster probably than the self-park. But again, it's just a pain in the ass. So anyway, they went to Suge Knight's house. This is Suge Knight's house. Can you see a Monte Rosa Avenue right there? We see it right there, courtesy of our friends at Google Earth. Well, I'm going to zip out for a little bit because I want you to see and keep it in perspective that, again, right here this is Suge Knight's house, right where this little pin is here. I'll do this so y'all can see it on the screen, depending on how big your screen is. If you got a little phone, you're kind of screwed because that's going to be tough to do. But this is Suge Knight's house. And this is the Vegas Strip. And I'll back it out so far so that you can actually see where Suge Knight's house is. It's on the other side of town. Okay. It's not like way down here or anything like Green Valley. But in terms of Las Vegas and everything, it is not convenient to get here. Okay. It is not convenient to get here. A couple other points that are scenic tourist points is if you go here, this is the MGM Grand. And by the way, Sunrise Hospital, where they contacted them about Orlando Anderson's injuries there, where he either did or didn't go there. Where is it? I just saw it. I just saw it on the map. There it is right here. Here's Sunrise Hospital. That's who Vegas PD contacted regarding Orlando Anderson's injuries. So he went there from here versus there. But again, like I said, Suge Knight's house is all the way down here, guys. See, there you go. All the way down here. And this is the strip, and this is where everybody was. And so the idea is if you have to plan something and you need time for a buffer, you can't just hang out. I mean, maybe they could, but a guy like Suge Knight isn't the kind of guy to go hang out. And why you would not bring a change of clothes and why you would drive all the way across town to go change your clothes. And they weren't having a party. And again, this is part of the examination of it. I was trying to pull up the police report about the officer that was the security guy that was moonlighting there, and he was saying that he there you are. All right. That the guy who was working there, who was a Vegas PD guy that was working security at the guard gate for Suge Knight's thing, he said people kept coming in and they kept saying, "Hey, we're here for Suge Knight. We're here for Suge Knight." They were getting very confused about things until Suge Knight came in and said, "Just let them all go by." This is the entourage. Cars were backed up all the way down the block, and they were waiting to get in. And Suge Knight told them. So this whole trip to Suge Knight's house wasn't planned. And how do you know it wasn't planned, or why you might believe it wasn't planned? Let me put it that way. Nobody knows anything. But maybe how you might believe it wasn't, that the trip to Suge Knight's house was not planned ahead of time, was because nobody bothered to let security or the guard gate know that a dozen, 18, 20 cars were going to be all let in at one time, because they need the owner's permission. And usually the owner will call ahead. I know, because I know people live in gated communities. They call the security people up front, and they call you in a pass. And you get there, you get the security, and you say, "Hi, I'm RJ Bond." And they look you up, and they say, "Oh, you're RJ Bond. Okay, here's your pass. Have a great day," and off you go. That's how it generally works. If you know there's going to be a big party, you're having a Christmas party, you're having any kind of major get-together, then you basically also go, "Hey, I've got all these people coming. I'm going to need the gate open for guests to my party. I may have a list. I may not have a list." But at any rate, it looks like everything, because of the reaction of these security guys when he finally said Suge Knight showed up and said, "Yeah, just let everybody else through." It looked like it was very impromptu, very ad hoc, very last minute, not planned. Not planned. So to say, well, perhaps that was a buffer, a time stop that allowed them then to kind of pace when they left to when they were going to get to Club 662. You would do that anyway. And I'm not saying that necessarily is an indicative of any kind of plan. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, Club 662 and nightclubs like that don't even open until like 10 o'clock. They don't open until 11 o'clock. Or at least things don't really get jumping until 11 o'clock. Nobody wants to be the first guy in there when there's two people standing around. They want to make the big entrance, make a fashionably entrance thing. And so they would say, "Well, God, the fight was supposed to last until 10 o'clock. We could have just tootled over from there to Club 662. Would have been a big deal." And the amount of time it takes for Mike Tyson to get out of his dressing room, wants to talk with him. There's another fight that goes until 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:15, 10:30 to go get the car, drive down to Club 662. It's 11 o'clock suddenly. Well, if the fight ends at 8:30, now you got a problem, because you're going to go get your car. He didn't meet with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson didn't come out of his dressing room. Suge was rushing him out of there. He had someplace to be. I guess he really wanted to go home really bad. But they went there. Guards were totally surprised by everything, that all these people were showing up. So the idea here is that they went back to Suge Knight's house to kill time. Now, you can make the assertion that it was innocuous, that they were just killing time to wait to go to Club 662, if that's what you want to believe. There are others that believe that there was a bigger clock that was ticking, and that if you believe that things needed to be in a certain place at a certain time, or a certain area at a certain time, or a certain route at a certain time in a window of time, then you might actually go back to your place. You might actually uh, hang out. Okay, gotta go, and then off you go. Okay, so I do think that there's something to be said for that, and I think there's something to be said for the guards actually saying that they were surprised by it. So let's go check it out. Kazi says, "What happened to Kenneth Knox? He retired or quit the police department, and he was another one like Russell Poole that he kind of resigned. I think he resigned, and he resigned kind of out of disgust on that. I don't. Let me see if I got. Let me see if I've got something on Knox that I can tell you why, or anybody that might know, because I think Randall Sullivan talked about it. But hang on, let me just see here real quick." Let's see. And I apologize because of the ad hoc nature of this stuff. I know that Randall Sullivan got into it a lot.
So with the Las Vegas police.
No, that's not it.
You made a report to Kenneth Knox that Suge was hanging around armed felons in order to get his parole violated.
And that wasn't me that made that statement. I was Kevin. They always said the studio manager. I wasn't the studio manager. Kevin Lewis was the studio manager.
You made a report to Kenneth Knox that Suge was hanging around armed felons in order to get his parole violated.
And that wasn't me that made that statement. I was Kevin. They always said the studio manager. I was.
And actually, that's true. That was the Kenneth Knox thing. Well, I was going to say, I think that he retired. Just to close out that question, Kazi, I think he retired under the same kind of situation that happened with Russ. And there is Gunsmoke the Don, people. He is here in the house. Pleased to see you. Glad you're here. CDT says, RJ, did they ever find out who rented the caddy? Well, no, because if they found out who rented the caddy, if they could put that caddy at that place. So you got two things going on there. Since there's no security footage that gives you the license plate of the car, any Cadillac, you'd have to prove that it was the Cadillac. See, that's the problem. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. You know, they first off, they would have to, even if they found out who rented a Cadillac, and we tracked it down, there was only one Cadillac that was rented. It was an Enterprise rent-a-car. It was rented out of like Long Beach or something like that, white Cadillac that was rented. But the thing about it was that even if you find out who rented the caddy, it doesn't take you any closer to, unless that person might say, oh yeah, I was with so-and-so and I rented the car and I was in the car when so-and-so shot Tupac. Oh, well, yeah, good luck on that. But they definitely said, even if you found out who did rent the car, you're not really any closer, because you have to say, you'd have to actually find out, like, know the license plate of the car that actually did the shooting, and then find out when that particular car was rented, not just who rented any caddy. It doesn't really help. So no, the answer to that, CDT, is no, nobody did. And again, you'd have to actually know that that was done. Now, what's interesting to me, again, going back to the, and I'll fire this up for you. Let's see if I can find it. Because I spent a lot of time kind of mining through these things here. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to show you this. And I'm going to have to do the view thing to make it big for you. All right. So this is the LA Vegas police report here, administrative offenses here. The victims, they still have Tupac being called the sane parish. Victims the night here. The warning, don't, this is when it was released. And then it goes in, it says properties. Here we go. Now, where should I do my... Oh. I'm doing the thing where we have the highlighter. So there we go. Okay. We're going to go back over this again. We're going to go down to here. And we're going to take our highlighting pen and we're going to say, here is the Cadillac. They don't have a VIN number here. They don't have a license plate number for it. Okay. Or that's been redacted. I mean, that's the other thing. The fact that there's nothing here could mean that they whited it out or they covered it up because they didn't want this to be made public. But it does say stolen locally, recovered locally. So the idea that the Cadillac was rented, and this is, by the way, the second document that we have. Okay, this is the second document that we have that says that the Cadillac was stolen locally and recovered locally. So there definitely is that. Let me see if there's any other. If there's another document, I think there was another one here. Let me see here. We'll go here to this. This is, I think, this is the binder information here. I don't think this is this doesn't have anything in it. Okay, so that's not going to help us. But at any rate, you can see here that Vegas PD says that there's a possibility that the car was actually stolen and recovered. And if you're going to shoot somebody in a car, it's not usually good advice to rent the freaking car you're shooting somebody from. You would steal the car so that way there's no trace back to anybody from there. All right, so we'll go back to that. So anyways, you guys want to see that. RJ, funny how Kadada was at both shootings, and I don't think for a minute Quincy would not have 5 men watching her, so she's safe. And Vibe even hosted the party the night Big got shot. I think Quincy knows. Well, that would be a hell of an assertion to make. You know, I'm not willing to go that far because I don't disagree with you. But the one thing I've noticed as far as security goes overall is that none of these guys had good security. You know, no offense to Gene Deal or anybody else, but none of these guys had bodyguards that were like on their game. I mean, that's the thing. You know, when bodyguards are totally reactive to a situation and they're stuck standing around looking dumb, then they're not doing their job. Sorry, no offense, but that's my take on it. You know, is like even in the Biggie thing. I mean, could have had an armored vehicle. Biggie should have had an armored vehicle. They were driving into freaking harm's way, guys. They were driving into the danger zone. To Shock G's credit there for that song with the same name. And they didn't bother to get an armored vehicle. They didn't bother to get a decent car, knowing that there was going to be trouble or that there would be a very high likelihood of trouble, if not at the Peterson, right afterwards or at some after party or on the road going there, going back. You know, the thing about Beverly Hills and the thing about Wilshire Boulevard is it's surrounded by scumland. It's surrounded by low rent areas, the hood, the ghettos. You know, it's surrounded by bad areas. And so if they didn't catch you on Wilshire Boulevard, all you got to do is drive 5 blocks to get where you're going. And unless you're staying within a half a mile of the Peterson Auto Museum on Wilshire Boulevard, you're in a really shitty area. So you really want to make sure that you have reliable transportation, that you stay alive between going there and going not. So I'm not really sure that the assertion that Quincy would add 5 security guys on Kadada, I don't think so, because she traveled up to Vegas with Tupac and it was her car that they took. So where was security then? Okay. No. All right. Or maybe Suge had to go by his house to be able to communicate and make sure everything was going according to plan. Could be. I mean, I think all options are on the table when you consider the people that you're dealing with there. Omnipotent One, welcome to the show. How are you? Glad to see you here. And Gunsmoke is like, damn, I'm flattered y'all remember my name after so many years. Well, I do. And I take all my knuckleheads seriously. So, you know, Gunsmoke was OG knucklehead back when there was no knuckleheads to do that there. All right. Whiskey to Don says, I'm from Colorado. Hey, RJ. So I've been wanting to ask you, I saw a couple things on a documentary which has the females who are identified as the girls in the car that Tupac was hollering at just before he got shot are the girls on the California Love remix video. No, they're not the same girls. Logan C., welcome to the show. I don't believe that they are. I think totally different girls because they would have models on that shot and everything. And also, too, just to make sure we keep the narrative straight or the understanding straight, there was nobody that was saying that Tupac was hollering at anybody. The girls were hollering at him to get his attention. He wasn't hollering at anybody. If you look at that last picture that the photographer took of Tupac in the car with Suge, which I always put a title underneath it. It should be like the world's greatest meme. It should say, the moment you realized you shouldn't have come to Vegas. Okay. That would be the meme that I would make out of that photo. But if you look at it, he doesn't look like he's in any kind of energy or spirit or even a mood to be leaning out the window, hollering at anybody, especially some girls he didn't even know. So, and in the house is none other than Discretion TV. What is happening? Yes, get the likes up. Discretion TV in the house. Thank you for pushing that. No ghost watching. You're absolutely correct about that. No ghost watching. All right. And then down here from LW says, selling the people hope. So let's say this says, also the guy who shot footage of Tupac coming out of the Tyson fight in the MGM is the same guy who shot footage of Biggie when he was shot. Is that true? I had never heard that before. That would kind of be interesting. Let's see here. All right, let's keep going down here. I'm popping along here. There we go with this. I seen on YouTube documentary I can't find anymore. I wonder why. It was about someone saying that Tupac had faked his death. Yeah, I think the guy who said that Tupac flew to Navajo land and became a member of the Navajo tribe, or was, you know, flown off there or whatever off the reservation, that I think he's in prison now or something. I don't know. He's in jail. I don't know. So what's happening, Easy? Great. Welcome. All right, let's get down here. Tim Mavelli, the man, says, where is the Luxor footage? You bet he was being followed in there too. Well, here's my problem with this whole thing. Just so you guys can I'll be very clear about this, and I'll get right up into my microphone so y'all can hear me very clearly. Vegas PD has done a crap job on this. They did a crap job from the beginning. I'm no fan of it, okay? I think that they have certain things that they know, okay, or certain things that they believe, and so maybe they feel like they have enough information about what happened. But the problem is again, why don't you go get the footage from the Luxor? Why don't you go get the footage from the MGM? Why don't you get the footage from wherever else they're going to be? Or the street cameras that, well, maybe they didn't have any street cameras back then, but even if they did, the street cameras that might be on the four corners there between the Luxor and the MGM where they're walking over the bridge or on the street, whatever the case might be. Why wouldn't you get all of that? And why wouldn't you keep all of that for reference? Because again, and it's an unsolved crime, which means anything's possible. So why wouldn't you get everything on your plate so you could look at it now? I don't understand how you can have unless they have an absolute smoking gun, both metaphorically and physically. I don't understand how they could not, unless they have something locked down and they know, and they're just waiting for one other thing to break before there. IVS says, yeah, they do the drive-bys in stolen cars. Discretion TV, Valentino is right. They were all jealous of Tupac, 100%. So, Kazi says, have you ever noticed Greg Katie never asked Keefe D where they rented the car from because it's never a rented Cadillac? Okay, confession time. Full disclosure, confession time. I have not heard did they release the Greg Kading interview with Keith Davis? Did they release the proper recording? Because I haven't heard it, and I would love to hear it. RJ Bond, what I know at Outlook.com, because you can't hear everything, you can't know everything. Somebody send me a link to that. Somebody send me the video, the file, the audio file, whatever. I would love to hear it if it's there. But yeah, I would definitely like to hear that. Kazi, if you know, hit me up and let me know. But yeah, you notice he never asked where they rented the car from because it was never rented or they already knew. But if he had, and this is the point, Kading said that he had all this access to Vegas materials. And I'm actually going to pull that claim up because this is another one of those, are we being totally honest here? Because I'm the one he said that promotes lying. Just so you know that. Greg Kading said that RJ Bond is the one who promotes lying. So let's look at that for a minute here. Oh, wrong drive. Sorry. I have to go to my drives here to. All right, maybe get the likes and the subscribes up. Let's get a few more subscribers. Our numbers have been really good. I've been very, very excited about how we've got almost like 1,000 subscribers in a month or so. So, well, let's keep that momentum going. Let's move it. Let's get some people interested about this. Let's see here. Because I do believe that he said, I have all the information. Hang on. Now, here's an interesting quote. So this is from the guy who says that he did the thorough investigation. He was all into it and knew everything about it, right? Okay, here's a bomb for you. Did you ever talk to Detective Mike Franks and Brent Becker? Those would be like the original investigators on the Tupac case. Greg Kading, there he is right there. Okay. There he is. This is the post, 8/28/2013 at 11:34 a.m. Greg Kading said, when asked the question, did you talk to him? He said, personally, I did not. However, my colleagues, whoever they might be, were always in constant communication with Las Vegas over the years whenever mutual information had to be shared. There were lots of LAPD detectives beside myself working the cases. I'm hoping to do an in-depth interview with at least one of them for the documentary. I think there is much the LVIPD should say in order to set the record straight for themselves. Fingers crossed on that. I have questions. How could you be the lead investigator and say that you have this case completely locked up yourself, you personally, and you never talked to the homicide investigators that were the original ones that were on the case? Who is he talking about there? Tim Brennan, Bobby Ladd, maybe somebody else there? And of all of that, how come they never come out with the fact that the car was stolen and recovered? If you're the guy who's supposed to be in charge, like, so for example, I do documentaries, okay? And I put out my documentary and I got it out and I say, okay, there. Don't you think you would expect me to be able to back what I'm saying or show receipts for what I have to say, or that I would know a lot about it? Now, there's certainly things I don't know, but when you're claiming to be the guy who solved the crime, and you haven't talked to the original investigators on it, it's saying one of two things. It's saying they had nothing to contribute. I would want to talk to them myself because I can't trust Tim Brennan and Bobby Ladd running around saying for years that there was some chain being snatched. Finally, they put out a book in like 2014, 2015. Oh, that chain snatch thing. That never happened. Really? And you've been promoting that bullshit for 20 years? And these are the guys you got working for you, Mr. Kading. These are the people that are on your team, okay? Can't get the story straight to save their life, okay? So it is interesting to me that you could claim to be the lead investigator for a murder and never talk to them. In fact, it looks like he was hoping to do an in-depth interview. Why didn't you do an in-depth interview when you were with the LAPD? Why would you have done that? Which is really interesting. Hold on. Oh, well, here we go. Here's another gem of a post. Again, you saw the Vegas document that I saw, right? Well, here's what Mr. Kading said on December 20th of 2013, allegedly. Another was Terrence Bubble Up Brown. He was the driver, and his mom was the one who rented the Enterprise rental car, which was driven to Vegas. Funny, didn't we just see? I mean, maybe I'm just seeing things here. Am I not seeing a document, which, by the way, secondary dissemination is prohibited, criminally prohibited? So this looks pretty damn official to me. And it says in here that the Cadillac was stolen and recovered locally. That's what it says. And I would believe Vegas before I believe any other fool that would say otherwise, but it doesn't stop them again from putting this out. And it says it was rented by his mom, which was driven to Vegas. Brooks, Darnell Brim, and Bobby Finch were not involved. Those names are a product of Compton PD search warrant affidavit, which is based on information from Southside Crip, who was purely speculating on what happened in Vegas. He also had speculated Jerry Monk Bonds was involved because Monk of Southside Crip owned a white caddy. Not to discredit Brennan. He was just... So you're ratting out your own guys. Oh, my God. I never even read this before like this. This is the thing. When you go back over stuff, you get so much information and you go back over it again. Oh, my God. He rants and raves about in his book about Tim Brennan and Bobby Ladd. And I mean, I'm sorry. Am I not reading this correctly? Not to discredit Brennan. He was reporting what he was told. He's a bad cop because he didn't check it out. He didn't bother to validate or verify it. And he wrote an entire search warrant based on an informant from the Southside Crips. Well, then guess what? That search warrant that says Orlando Anderson was bullshit, because it also that was in the search warrant too. So if he's going to sit there and say that Tim Brennan's affidavit was a bunch of crap, which is exactly what he's saying here, man, he just threw Tim Brennan right under that bus. Did you see that Greyhound go by? There goes the bus. Wow. Holy crap. Wow. Didn't think I'd see that one today. All right. Supposedly the cab driver returned the tape, but he ended up getting killed, and the guy who got the tape ended up getting killed. It's all in the no grape theory. I don't even know what this no grape theory is all about, so we'll have to dig into that. Then welcome to the show, R3 Deep. Hi, RJ. Do you think the car they're referring to in the property reports of the crime scene of Flamingo, which is noted in your binder? Yeah, I think so. Actually, I do. I think, what other property are they going to have there? I mean, it's like Tupac's medallion. They would have released that. But yeah, I do. The crime scene, but it's Flamingo and Arville. So I don't know. Maybe Arville is one of the side streets when they were headed towards. See, they didn't make it all the way to Vegas Boulevard. Arville might be that back street right there before. Well, heck, I got Google listed right here. Let's find out. Flamingo and Arville. Let's go look. Let's go look. All right. We're going to go. Oh, I typed it wrong. Never let me type anything for you because I suck. Is there such a place as Flamingo and Arville? Wow, well, look at that. There is. Flamingo and Arville. Now, so if they're referring to property reports of the crime scene at Flamingo and Arville, well, this is Flamingo and Arville. Very interesting, because that's the Strip. This area right here is the Strip. And if we take Flamingo down, here's Flamingo. And here's Flamingo and Koval. Right here. There we are. Now you're watching. Now you're seeing Flamingo and Koval there. I'll let Google Earth fill in the rest here so we can have a nice little demonstration. You're at Flamingo and Koval. Suge Knight flips a U-turn there. Okay. There's even cars right there in the car lanes there. Suge Knight flips a U-turn and he takes off. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, there's a building in the way. Got to get past that building. Let's continue down Flamingo Boulevard. And you end up at just before Las Vegas Boulevard. I want to make sure I'm on the right corner. Yep. Just on Flamingo Boulevard, right before. So probably right in the area right here, kind of where this bridge is. I don't think this bridge has been there for a long time. But in this area was where Suge Knight broke down, where his car broke down. Now, to put this into perspective, that's where the secondary crime scene. So if there's another crime scene mentioned in the report, we're going to drive all the way down here past the Rio. We're going to keep going because I don't see Arville yet. Maybe I'll back out just to make sure I'm not missing it. Yeah, that's all right. We'll keep going past the Rio. We're driving. We're driving, guys. And we got a building in the way. Let's get past the building. So there is a Chevron gas station there. Well, I mean, I have no idea what it was back in the day. And the reality is that these houses here may not even have been here 30 years ago, 27 years ago, because you got to remember on this side of the strip where the Rio is, this side of the strip with this off-road here, this road here, this is where all of the strip clubs and all of the hash companies and everything like that are. This is a real industrial part of town, even at Flamingo. So the reality of the situation is, and I think the Palms was there. Palms have been there for a long time. But but what was this? Was this casino there? Maybe they were there. Was this building here, the Arville? No, definitely that wasn't there. So what I'm getting at is that this area here may have been very underdeveloped. It may not have been a highly developed area. I don't know how old these houses are, but it's funny that you mentioned that Flamingo and Arville, because that could very well be where they recovered the vehicle. And by the way, if you're going to commit a crime, let's block it all out. Let's walk the route. Let's see what we can do. See if it makes any sense. So the shooting happened here. Okay, here's Koval. And allegedly, the Cadillac took off headed this way, which, yes, that would make some sense that they did. And they got down to probably here. And does this go over the freeway? Well, it's Tropicana. Of course it does. So the Tropicana does that. They can go straight down here. It does hook up with Arville. That would be this yellow line here, all the way up to Arville and Flamingo. And maybe they ditched the car there. There's a lot of parking lot there. Maybe this was a vacant lot at the time. I don't know, but maybe that's where they ditched the car. So I definitely think that, true amigo and greetings, I think there may be some traction there. I think there might be something to be said about that. Very interesting point. I like it. "21 gun salute." IVS says, that photograph is eerie because why ask for a picture when you know you're about to be in the club with them? Well, this guy was a photographer. He was kind of a freelance photographer that was trying to do it. And I don't know where exactly that photograph was physically taken, where they were geographically when that was taken. But yeah, I think you got a good point there. Easy says, RJ, have you seen the video of Rafael Perez driving a limo? His name is Ray Lopez now. Do you believe Ken Bogany talking about Perez? Do you believe Ken Bogany talking about Perez confessing? I absolutely do believe Ken. I haven't talked to Ken in a couple weeks now. I need to call him again. But yeah, I do believe him. And I do believe that, yes, I have seen the video that was on TMZ about Rafael Perez driving a limo. I don't know that that's what he's doing now. That was like 10 years ago. But, it could be do that. But, and Loose Can 88 is right. The Luxor footage is gone because they didn't bother to preserve it when they had the opportunity. So Key Brown says, greetings. And the gas station. Good point, Valentino. The gas station also had surveillance cameras and footage. Yeah. Listen, every ATM, even back in those days, every ATM, every automatic teller machine had a camera, had a video in it. So there were so many different points of contact that they could have worked if they cared. But see, the problem was, I think Kevin Manning was the lead on it. And I think that he was actually pissed off, and he shouldn't have been, because he wouldn't be the only one that acted emotionally in this situation and decided, F them all, I'm not going to bother with it, if that's what he did. He wouldn't have been the only one that did that. There were people in death row that did the same thing. So when you look at that and say they didn't even bother to get any of that, there was 1,000 places to touch points that they could have done that. And the only reason that we even had the MGM video is because they used it in the court case with Shug. That's the only reason. So Key Brown says, what's up? Ryan Gilliam, welcome to the show, says, I had a question. Frank Alexander stated after the fight at the MGM, they had an hour meeting at Shug's house off Sunset. Why didn't Shug put all security on high alert at that meeting? Suge Knight says he did. Ryan, Suge Knight says that he told Reggie Wright to pull 5 guys from the club and send them to bodyguard Tupac. And it never happened. Okay? So someone's lying. Either Suge Knight's lying and he never said that and he's bald-faced lying about it, or Reggie Wright's lying that he never got the call or that Suge never asked him to do that, because if you were asked to do that and your boss is paying your check and you're asked to do that, you definitely have trouble there. Oliver Dean, got to go back to work, lunchtime here. Peace from Great Britain. We'll watch the rest later, RJ. Then you'll know when you watch it that I said, sorry we missed you. Would love to have interacted with you, but I'm glad that you're in there. Yes, you noticed that, didn't you? You know, I've been pounding on this for weeks. The $1 million check. Oh, well, maybe it wasn't a $1 million. Man, well, maybe I didn't. I don't know. Did I see him? I think I saw a check with a 1 and a bunch of zeros, but maybe it wasn't for the killing. I don't know. Really? Really? I mean, yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, well, I was actually looking at something. Hang on a second. I don't know if I can get to that. Hang on a second real quick. Hold on. Okay, so let's walk through something here. Okay, we can definitely do this. Like you said, you come with receipts. This is a federal document. I mean, if he's the one going to run around saying that I promote lying, okay, let's turn that freaking mirror the other direction, shall we? This is the United States of America versus George Torres Ramos. This is called a Franks hearing. What is a Franks hearing? A Franks hearing is for the purposes of determining whether certain. Well, let me do this. I'm gonna do this first. Hold on. Let's do this because I want to make sure I definitely get my marker ready for this one, and we'll take us through it. All right, let's see here. We got 9 pages here. We're almost done. All right, here we go. All right, what is a Franks hearing? Well, a Franks hearing is to hear for the purposes of determining whether certain inaccurate statements in the affidavit were made intentionally or with reckless disregard for the truth. Now, what's the difference? If you do something intentionally, is it the same as reckless disregard for the truth? Well, I think Mr. Kading has tried on many occasions to actually split the two and say, well, reckless disregard for the truth means you really didn't know the truth, but you were kind of putting out there. But I didn't intentionally go out and lie about anything. Well, actually, what the judge is actually saying is that these are actually in the same area. Okay? They are the same thing. When you make something intentionally or you have such reckless disregard for the truth that there's no difference. You might as well have said it intentionally because you were so reckless about it that it has the same people. So he was asking whether his statements were made for the issuance of a warrant to search 8 supermarkets. After considering the testimony of Katie, the court finds that the following inaccurate statements were made intentionally or with reckless disregard for the truth. Let me get rid of that. I use my marker for this. All right, so let's talk about it. First, the affidavit incorrectly quotes a witness here as saying to George Rose, give him a call and say, hey, what's up? What did you, Rory, and some Mayotte over there do yesterday? In fact, the correct statement was, and by the way, this was something that was on a taped phone call that you transcribe and you do that. Okay. And he said, hey, what's up? Did you roast some Mayotte over there? Okay. And he has here to do some Mayotte over here there yesterday. Okay. Big difference between, okay, what did you do with some Mayotte, or what did you and Rory do to some Mayotte? In many situations, a misstatement like this, and by the way, this is from the judge, a misstatement like this could be explained as an inadvertent mistake. This is a unique situation, though, however, because the conversation was overheard and recorded on a wiretap. As a result, Officer Kading had at his disposal the actual recording of the conversation and the summary of the conversation, as well as transcribed in the wiretap room. Both the actual recording and the call summary reveal that Ledermeyer said with some Mayotte, not to some Mayotte. Big difference. If I'm gonna throw down fists with somebody, or I'm gonna throw down fists to somebody, big difference. There's obviously an important distinction between doing something with a person and doing something to a person. Furthermore, in the earlier application to Judge Anderson for the wiretap, the federal task force of which Kading was a part accurately quoted the statement from the wiretap recording. Thus, the court finds this is an inaccurate quotation with at least reckless disregard for the truth. But we're not done yet. Second, the affidavit incorrectly quotes Alfredo Garcia as saying to George Torres, and then Rory went in there and showed his PD badge and shook the guy up a little bit. The correct statement was, and then Rory went in there and showed his PD badge, so he shook the guy up a little bit. Again, this conversation was overheard on the wiretap, and Kading had access to the recording and the call summary, both of which reveal that Garcia said so and not and. This is an important distinction because it casts doubt on whether Latimer actually used force on the shoplifter or whether it was the act of showing the badge that shook the guy up. Kading's explanation, it was merely a mistake, as Russ Poole would say, is not credible. Therefore, the court finds that this inaccurate statement was made intentionally or with reckless disregard for the truth. Again, not separating the two. Oh, but there's more. Kading, third in the affidavit, Kading states he has personal knowledge from other intercepted calls that George Torres intentionally conceals videotape evidence which do not reflect favorably on his company. This from a guy who leaked LAPD reports about the confession that are out, right? When asked about this statement at the hearing, Kading could remember only one intercepted call that indicated George Torres had concealed any videotape evidence. Officer Kading testified that at the time he wrote the affidavit, he must have had other instances in his mind. You got to love that one. But that he had since forgotten them. Whoa, okay. Officer Kading's testimony on this point is not credible. Thus, the court finds the statement in the affidavit that there were multiple calls intercepted that he had concealed videotapes was inaccurate but was made either intentionally or with reckless disregard for the truth. But wait, there's more. Fourth, sing along if you know the words. In the affidavit, Kading states that when questioned about company policy manual, Torres advised that the common response to a shoplifter is to detain him or her for approximately 1 hour in the back office of the store and then to release him. This standard applied to suspects regardless of age, sex, or whether force was used to subdue the suspect. A review of the recorded conversation, however, reveals that this is an inaccurate representation of what he said. And so, do you see a pattern here? Do you all see a pattern of behavior here? A pattern of behavior that says that the words get twisted, the words get manipulated, and it takes somebody that has to go in and actually break it down by individual word to actually catch it. Because there's a big difference when they say the chain got snatched. Was the chain snatched and dropped? Was the chain stolen? He said the chain was stolen. He's taken that word snatched and he's now changed the entire meaning of it, which he did in these 4 other cases. Over and over again, he did this. Near the beginning of the recorded conversation, Kading asked, how does it work with you guys as far as what's the procedure for a guy shoplifting? Then he responded, the guy shoplifts. We're bringing him back here and we catch him as he's going out the door. As soon as he passes the door, then we catch him. You know, we have security all over there. We bring him back here. We see what he has, and then we charge him, whatever he took. Now, if he doesn't have any money or stuff like that, and if it was a lot, we just call the LAPD, and that's when we make a report. Does that sound like advise that the common response to shoplifters to detain him for approximately an hour in the back office of the store and then release him? Sounds a lot different to me. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy that way. Later in the conversation, Kading asked specifically about juveniles. Well, how about juveniles? Do their parents come and pick them up? In response, he stated, we keep them for about an hour or so. You know, let them think about their shit. You know, we're going to call the cops and all that good shit. In light of the recorded conversation, it's clear that Manuel Torres did not advise that the common response to a shoplifter was to detain him for an hour. Rather, Torres said that the common response was to take the shoplifter into the back office, charge him for the stolen items, and then call the police. The reference to detaining shoplifters for an hour or so was only in respect to juveniles. And there's a big difference there. Manuel Torres never indicated that shoplifters were detained for an hour or so, regardless of age, sex, or whether force was used to subdue the suspect. I mean, he just made that shit up. Officer Kading personally participated in this conversation, and the recording was available to him at the time he prepared the affidavit. Indeed, it likely would have been easier to access this relatively short recording than it would have been to go back through the hours of wiretap recordings. Thus, the court finds, again, that this statement from the affidavit was inaccurate and made intentionally or with reckless disregard for the truth. But wait, there's more. Fifth, you kind of get the point by now? Officer Kading states in the affidavit he asked Liedermeyer about the store's policy regarding documentation of detained persons. In response, the affidavit represents Liedermeyer as saying that they typically take a Polaroid picture and release the alleged shoplifter after a period of 1 to 2 hours. Okay, there you go. This is important stuff because this is what an affidavit is what they base a search warrant on. An affidavit is what they base a prosecution on. An affidavit, they have to trust what the police are saying are true. And if you start twisting things and making up a bunch of crap that's not there, it's not reliable. It's actually perjury. Because you're swearing under penalty of perjury that what you're saying is true. That's what an affidavit is. But in this examination, he never said that they typically hold a shoplifter for 1 or 2 hours. He only says they typically take a photograph of the shoplifter, which is not illegal. At the hearing, Kading admitted that Liedermeyer never said that shoplifters were held for 1 or 2 hours. Oh, well, that's good. Instead, Kading explained that he mistakenly attributed the words of Alfredo Garcia to Liedermeyer. Okay, well, and he, by the way, later on said the same thing because he didn't think anybody actually had what the judge had to say. The judge says, this is an implausible excuse. In other words, bullshit. That Officer Kading participated in the conversation with Liedermeyer and had access to the recording of the conversation at the time he was prepared the affidavit. Thus, the court finds this statement was made intentionally with reckless disregard for the truth. Finally, and we're only on page 6 of 9, the court finds that Officer Kading omitted material information from his conversation, which, if included, would have negatively affected the magistrate's finding of probable cause. So in other words, like I said, they rely on what you say before they grant a search warrant. Most significantly, he failed to inform the magistrate that when asked about company policy regarding shoplifters, Torres said that they simply detained the shoplifter, charged him, and then called the LAPD. At the hearing, Kading stated he did not include this information in the affidavit because he did not believe Manuel Torres that this was their actual policy. So in other words, doesn't matter what the guy said, I know better than he does, and that's it. If that was in fact the case, Officer Kading should have included that pertinent information in the affidavit. Like, well, he said it, but I didn't believe him. I think it was this. And then explain why he thought Manuel Torres' statement was not credible. This would have allowed the magistrate to make a fully informed determination based on all the information available to the officer. So are you getting the picture that in this particular case, material information was left out? Material information was scrambled eggs as far as words go. Details were left out. And then when he comes back with an excuse later and saying, well, I didn't believe him, that information isn't in there. Okay. Instead, as the judge says, by omitting this important information, Officer Kading effectively usurped the role of the magistrate. He was the judge and executioner. Thus, the court finds this omission, oops, let's do that again, highlighter, is made intentionally with reckless disregard for the truth. Now, here's the kicker. The court finds it suspicious. Oh, we're doing that again. Finds it suspicious that each one of the inaccurate statements had the effect of altering the meaning of the statement to fit the purpose of the investigating police. What does that sound like to you? Does that not sound like the Pucci Faust narrative or the Keefe Dean narrative, that these statements that he quoted or were made had the effect of altering the meaning of the statements to fit the purpose of the investigation? How many live streams have I been saying, knuckleheads, that they're trying to make the picture fit the frame? They already have this frame figured out. It's this big, this wide, this, and they have to stretch that picture, even though it distorts it, even though it makes it look ugly, even though it stretches it and it makes people's faces 5 miles wide, that they're stretching it and they're distorting it for the truth. Okay? That's what's going on here, according to the judge. Each one of the changes that Officer Kading made to the quoted statements had the effect of bolstering the finding of probable cause. In other words, he stacked the deck, suggesting these changes were made with the intent to deceive, especially in a situation like this, where there is a fine line between the shopkeeper's privilege, which means that a shopkeeper can hold somebody who stole from them, which makes detaining a shoplifter perfectly legal, and false imprisonment, which can be a felony. The utmost accuracy is required in order to make sure that individuals are not punished for conduct that may be perfectly legal. Therefore, there is no excuse for getting the information wrong, because all of the conversations identified were recorded on wiretap. Okay, so and then he says, in light of these things, the court actually thinks that there wasn't even a reason to find that there was probable cause to even get the affidavit in the first place. The findings from the Franks hearing further bolster this conclusion, given that with the elimination of the false statements and the addition of the omitted statements, revealed that there was no probable cause to believe that a policy existed at the department store to detain shoplifters for excessive periods of time. Thus, it would appear that the only possible remaining probable cause was for the detention of one shoplifter. The determination that Kading incorrectly quoted the following statement complicates matters somewhat. Okay, here, however, it is not entirely clear what must be stricken, just the inaccurate word or the whole clause. But the result of this determination may be of consequence in the determination of probable cause to search for evidence at one incident, given there appear to be two possible grounds for finding felonious false imprisonment from the quoted statement. And he talks about false imprisonment. So, defendants are also in the law about how the affidavit should be reconfigured at the incorrect statement. The government may file objections to it. Signed, yours truly, Stephen Wilson, United States District Judge. There you go. And from that point, their whole case fell apart. Because once you get somebody and making altered statements, dicing up words, trying to fit the facts to fit the narrative. It's over. It's done. But I don't know that anybody's ever actually heard that or spelled that out in an order. But there you go. That's from a federal judge against it. And now that this is being recorded and documented, which is pretty cool because that's what we'd like to do, record and document these things, we can now go back and actually roll back through it again because he's made a lot of statements how, oh, it was just a mistake. Oh, I screwed up and I said one thing when I meant to say another. No. The judge weeded through all of that. Okay. The judge was not buying the whole, gee, I messed up. Gee, I'm sorry. I just, I'm an idiot, or I confused it with somebody else. See, and the problem is because nobody just on an average day walks through or owns this statement or has it to be able to go back and refer to it. But here it is. So you all decide for yourselves what you want to believe at that point. Okay. All right. Easy side note. He told Motley that if she didn't let him in, they would arrest her and put her baby in foster care. Yeah, well, that's what Motley definitely said about it. Loose Can 88 said Gilliam's right. Suge took the long way. And again, is that the sign of like some insidious plot? No, I mean, they could have done that because that's where the more traffic was. But I just don't understand. It's a parking lot there. You're not going to drive into, at least I wouldn't want to drive into a parking lot knowing that you had just beat up a Crip. Because guess what? There may be people looking for you. So you get to a place as quickly as you can to get there where you have security present at Club 662, where there's law enforcement officers present at Club 662, that you might do that you might not be sitting ducks. Not a lot of critical thinking going on there, for sure. Gabby Triplett says, what up? Greetings. Easy says, class in session. That's right. Hey, man, there are some people that you can talk to for 5 minutes. You come away with a college degree. I'm working on that. All this high security, not one gun. Well, yeah, of course. That's, yes, Ryan, you're dead on right. So there you go. See, now that's why I love you knuckleheads. You're helping me fact check these things. Ryan Gilliam says Palms didn't open until 2004. So we go back to that map again. Okay. So even the Palms, this area here, 2004. So what, if you look around, you see like giant parking lots and dirt lots and lots of stuff people don't use. Okay. Over here by Unique Garage Door. This area was probably, I mean, it's a guess, but I'm thinking this area was probably just a lot of damn vacant lots in 1996. It was probably a kind of area that hadn't been developed, or maybe there was construction going on in these housing tracts here. Okay. These look like mobile homes. They look like they might have been around for a while. But these apartments here, these condos here, they look kind of newer. They look like kind of newer condos. I don't know about the houses. But again, at any rate, this area over here, which is more the industrial side of it, I mean, if you look at all these industrial warehouses and all that, I mean, that's a perfect place. If you're going to stash a stolen car, that would be the perfect place to do it, I would think. I mean, what do I know? I've never stolen a car before. So I kind of have to rely on what I see on TV, which, isn't always the greatest, but that's okay. So Ryan said those houses have always been there. Okay. But what about the area that was since Ryan is now, Ryan, you've just become our real estate person. Okay. Ryan, my question is this: the area where the Palms is, the Rancho Mirage apartments over there, the Rancho del Sol apartments over there, and this area here, because it could have happened on any one of the four corners. And this stuff here, was there a lot? This looks like K1 Speed indoor go-kart place. Was all this stuff around, or was it a lot of big, industrial warehousing areas or dirt lots? You can tell me. I don't know. No, answer your question here. RJ, did KVD ever mention Orlando was the one who shot back at the Buntry car? Reggie claimed Buntry's car was shot. No, that's no. And again, maybe it's just as much news to Reggie and to everybody else that like to blow that smoke up that narrative's ass that that the car was a rental car. And again, what can you say if you build a whole narrative and the narrative has this little truth nugget in it that can maybe be the thread that you pull to unravel the whole narrative? Because Buntry, I think Mob James said that Buntry said nobody shot back. Nobody shot anybody. The woman in the car that was in the white truck, we read her witness statement. And if you haven't seen that, maybe I'll bring that one back up again. But the one who had the truck that was in the lane in front of the white Cadillac, there was a car in front of it. Okay, she busted a right-hand turn and got the hell out of the way when the shots got fired because she didn't want to get shot. But she saw them go by, saw the white Cadillac go by. She never mentioned a word about anybody chasing him. And she certainly never said a word about gunshots being fired between the two cars. And she would have said that because she had already mentioned that she was scared from the shots she heard behind her. So if they passed her, because she stopped, she pulled over to the side of the road. If they passed her, she would have had a bird's eye view, and she would have been like a perfect eyewitness to see that flurry of gunfire going back between those two cars. And bottom line is, I don't believe for a minute that shit ever happened, period. Just didn't do it. Leonard Jeffrey says he took that picture right before the shooting happened, and he supplied cars to Death Row for music videos. So, yeah, I didn't know where he was. Was he just walking down Koval just randomly, or walking down Flamingo? You got to remember where Flamingo is, where Flamingo and Koval is, and I'll jump back over. This is all beautiful and nice and everything like that. When you get over here where Flamingo and Koval is, okay, not a lot going on. Okay, you got some condos and shit. Why would anybody be wandering around this area in the parking lot? Why would the photography be in the parking lot? I don't know the guy, so I don't know what his story is as far as where he was when he took it. But that sounds kind of weird. So the question is according to Kathy Scott, Suge had Metro LVPD guarding his Paradise East neighborhood. Well, yeah, those are the guys that the Metro Police were at guard gates there. Yes, they were taking care of the neighborhood. Oh, that's interesting. I love that. Good catch, IVS. Says because of that pic in the last video outside the Luxor, we know that Pac wasn't wearing his Death Row chain. Yes, no, he wasn't. He's wearing his big giant euthanasia logo thing on there. Big difference. But Suge claims Tupac gave him his Death Row chain in the ambulance. They didn't go in the same ambulance. I don't think they would. They would go in two different ambulances because Tupac's case was worse than Suge Knight's case. Number one, usually they only have room for one person in an ambulance. If you ever seen way ambulances set up for the people to sit around you to take care for you, there's one person in an ambulance bus. I haven't seen the double-decker kind where they stack you up like the car lift and they'd roll Tupac in there and then they'd lift him up and then they'd slide Suge underneath it like they're freaking sausages or something. I'd never seen that. Most ambulances hold one person, and he clearly wasn't that injured if he was going to ride in the ambulance with Tupac. I think there were two different ambulances, and I think they both got taken there. They were both brought in individually, and Suge was treated and triaged one way. Tupac went straight into intensive care because they would not have wanted to, no offense to anybody, they wouldn't want to do a fuck around with Suge if Suge only had a graze on his head, which is one triage, and Tupac had life-threatening injuries. They're not going to want to get him out of the way to be able to get Tupac, because seconds count. Guys, remember that. Seconds count in these situations. So they're not going to want to have this dude that is hurt but he's not hurt near as bad in any way, shape, or form. And they would also never let another guy who's a patient like that ride in the ambulance. That's I call BS, total BS on that. I Buy Houses says, greetings, knuckleheads. What's happening? CDT says, after hearing Frank's secret phone calls, do you believe that Reggie's a part of the hit on Tupac? Well, I don't know that anybody came to a conclusion about it in the phone calls. I think that they definitely, and by the way, there's a hell of a lot more phone calls that have not been released. Maybe there's the drop for the evening, knuckleheads. You think that the couple of minutes or a couple of seconds, 30, 45 seconds of conversation, that's the sum of all of Frank Alexander's recordings of recorded conversations with him and Reggie, him and Michael Moore, him and Kevin Hackey, him and David Kenner, him and Paul Palladino, him and the LA County DA's office. I think people should be more concerned about what people like Vegas PD might not be talking about or might not be broadcasting, and what people are broadcasting. But if you think that what you've heard is all, hell no. All right. Yeah, I've heard that about the song Bomb First, which is kind of ironic that Bomb First, the website, would use that song. If somebody says Shook shot me in it, maybe that's their hidden admission there. Philip Burke says, what up, knuckleheads? Greetings. Slick Rick says, hey, greetings, everybody. Hey, RJ, did any Inside Dossier Season 2 information release date? No, I have not talked to, and I need to talk to Don Sikorsky, actually pretty bad. I need to talk to him, but we're working on two different things. He's working on something. I'm working on something. We get together and we talk, and then we go back to doing our own thing. So it's yeah. So actually, okay, I'm sorry. Season 2. Yeah, you're right. Season 2's out. That's about the Mario Hammonds. That's about the other stuff. Yeah. Re-releasing, probably about Jimmy Henchman and all that. And Michael West, I think what they're doing with it is I think they're re-releasing some stuff, and they're actually, adding some stuff to it. I can tell you this, there's going to be another season of the dossier, and it's going to be on some different material. So you guys will have all that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Whiskey Don says, if you look up the address of the house, you should be able to find it. But I'll take Ryan's word for it. Ryan's our guy. Ryan's guy that says that they've been there since the 70s. So there you go. Ryan's our real estate guy. I'm taking it to Ryan. Ryan's our fact finder. Palms was a dirt lot. There you go. Palms was a dirt lot until 2003, 2004. So if you need to bail out of a stolen vehicle and get with your homies and get in the car and go, I mean, in a way, when you think about it, it's a giant, big square. You go down from Koval, hit Tropicana to Arville up to there. Good route. And I'm going to tell you something else. This route here that you're talking about, let's go back over to this side of town. Once you're on this side of town, and Ryan could vouch for this, if you're from that area, Ryan, help me out here. This area of Tropicana, because it's all industrial and warehouse, at night, there is nothing going on over here. There's nothing going on up Arville. And especially even more, if there wasn't that much of the warehousing and stuff going on there, it was older, that this would have been, you would have flown. Once you got past Tropicana, you'd have flown down Tropicana. You'd have flown down Arville. You could have gotten there, but quick. Because Koval wasn't that heavily traveled. So you hit Koval, you pop Koval down to Tropicana. The only real traffic you'd have would have been, ironically, by the MGM. If you took Tropicana there, you would have been back past the MGM, going this direction, down Tropicana, over the freeway, and then from there, you're a bat out of hell. You're moving at a mile a minute driving down that road. Go-kart place has always been there. Okay, good to know. Well, okay, Michael West. Now that's an interesting thing. They said Leonard Jeffries drove up next to Tupac and Suge. How? If he drove up to him, he was using the same lane that the Cadillac was using. Well, that's kind of weird. That was the back parking lot of Bally's. Oh, that's interesting. Chris Carroll said that Suge went in the same ambulance. You know, maybe he did. Again, I don't, logistics wise, that doesn't make any sense to me, but again, it could still be fact, you know, even though I may try to say what, you know, reasonable things to do are, but that tells me then that Suge's injury wasn't so bad that he had to be laid down immobile. And if you're losing that much blood, you got blood spurting out of your head. If you're losing that much blood with a traumatic head injury, I'm not really sure. And I've got the picture of him the next day. Okay. I mean, he doesn't even have a bandage on his head. So if you were that, if you're like your skull was crushed or you had lacerations that you needed several stitches in your head to hold it together because the skin up there is very, very thin, that you needed to have that kind of thing, you'd be wearing a bandage the next day. You wouldn't have the bandage off because you'd still be bleeding. But and then on the other side of things, and again, no offense to anybody, but you know, you got to consider the source. Ryan said Michael Moore had, oh, okay, Metro. We'll just call him Metro. Okay, that's a great idea. CDT says, I didn't know that Frank thought about taking his life at one point. Yeah, Frank thought about taking his life from the day that Tupac got killed. He thought about taking his life because Frank felt personally responsible for his death because he was tortured by what he called the what if game. He always talked about that with me, and we actually got it down on tape because of that. That he talked about the what if game. What if I could have done? What if I carried my gun? What if I could have done things? What if I'd not let Tupac ride in the car with Suge? What if I had said something about it? You know, all of these things. And he was tortured by that because that's what good people do. Good people that are responsible people don't just blow it off like some of the narcissistic assholes that are involved in this story have done, where they just blow it off like, oh, well, you know, shit happens. You know, that I think is probably what drives me to wake up every morning and get this, is the total lack of, it's almost sociopathic, the lack of care or concern that, that this person was killed. You know, there's certainly, we could talk about that at another time. But I do think that, you know, Frank did think about taking his life. And then he found a Bible laying in a church that he was guarding that Reggie had stuck him over at because he needed to work. Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, right, guys? Okay. So, yeah. So, yeah, there you go. Yes, nothing in dark. There you go. That road's nothing. Most industrial business close after 5 p.m. And once you get there, you're a bat out of hell. Yep. Oh, True Omega says there's an interview with the two paramedics. Okay, well, then I'm wrong. It's okay to be wrong. Right before the shooting happened. Hey, Tupac, right before you get shot, can I take a picture? Easy work, says, damn, getting notifications late, but you've been killing it lately, RJ. Well, thank you very much. Well, again, you know, there's all this information that's out there, and I wanted to change the live streams to do something really productive. Like I said, you know, we had live streams where we'd talk about something and we get on there, and J-Mix and I would get on there and we'd riff on that, and we would attack this person and we'd attack that person. And, you know, I don't want to do those kind of live streams, guys. I want to do live streams or we're talking about shit that matters. I mean, it's one thing to listen to me drone on and on and on, or watch, Veggie drone on and on and on and, carry on and do his thing. But it's another thing altogether to actually talk about what matters. And that would be evidence. That would be facts. That would be details, things of that nature that matter. I don't see any of that from any of those other channels. I mean, even like Vlad TV. I mean, Vlad TV's got people talking about all kinds of crazy shit. Does he ever go back and actually pull the documents, or actually go back and try to edit in the things that they're talking about, or go back and find out what they're talking? No, he just lets the interview roll out, and these people just go blah 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 blah, and he's got 2,000 hours of people going blah 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 blah. That's not what we're going to do here. This is Classes in Session. We're talking about the things that matter. We're talking about things like Arville, whether or not that was a good place to be. Again, Vegas has changed. But, I think that the most likely place that they did turn if they went down Koval would have been Tropicana, because, see, this area right here that turns, that's the airport. So you really get bogged down, not here on Reno, back in this back way here. But I think that it's and I guess they could have, because, I mean, you could definitely take Reno and then hop here. But I think the best route's straight down Tropicana. I really do. I mean, there is a route here, and that's a very interesting Hacienda, because you kind of be out of the traffic. If you just take Cobalt and you drove around here, down here, and you end up on Mandalay Bay, you can still catch Arville. Look at that. Boom, you can catch Arville, and boom, up the road you go. So maybe that. And then the other thing that you gain by that is you're not tied up in all this MGM traffic. You go all the way around it, bing, 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 straight down. But what's interesting is somebody would have known that with the natural byproduct of following Koval till its end naturally sends you down Hacienda. Oh, wow. And then you go to Arville, which is right here, and up you go to Arville. Wow. That's pretty dang impressive. Wish I could have met Frank. Seemed like a great guy. He was. Frank was one of a kind. Frank was a guy that, I mean, yes, he had his problems. Yes, he had things that he did that weren't really consistent sometimes. I mean, in his personal life, and that's all of us. We all have that. So I'm not the one to judge that. Everybody does it. Okay. But I think that the pain that he endured because he felt responsible for it, I think that was something that never left him until the day he died. We had many talks about it. Frank hated Vegas because of that. He didn't really like going there anyway, because Frank was a cheapskate. Honestly, he was a cheapskate. Some of the things he would spend money on would blow me away, because he was a cheapskate going to lunch and doing all the practical things, but then he'd go spend money to go get his car lowered. So, it was weird priorities. But all in all, though, like I said, Frank was, he's the godfather of my son. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, he tried to, do the right thing. I do think that, as happens with many people, you can certainly find yourself in predicaments from time to time. Everybody does. But I don't think that should be used as the basis to generally define a person. And I think people that have done that have been wrong. So Ryan says, you're by my house. Okay, well, yeah, you do know the area then. KVD claimed they went and partied right after they shot Tupac and left the gun on the tire of the car. They said they walked by the shooting scene in an ambulance. Yeah, I know what he said. Yeah, he said that before. I've seen that there. Did I have hold on, what did I have here? Oh, well, by the way, you remember how originally Keith Davis said that Puffy paid him to go do that, to do this thing. Okay, let me show you something. This is, and by the way, from the guy who said that I want to suck his you know what. Now, F him. F him. We're showing it. Let's see. View. Zoom. Fit width. Oh, there you go. Who's this from? We're looking at a letter. Who's it from? Oh, I got to get rid of Micah. Sorry, Micah. Oh, look. Keefy D. I got a letter from Keefy D. Really? I did? Yeah. And guess what it says? I got a hell of a story. It's like page 2. And it's all true about how Bad Boy Records and how Puffy Daddy got in touch with me. We could make a real good movie, and I would like to take out a lawsuit against the people that did me like that, the FBI, LAPD, DEA, and U.S. Attorney, all the people involved. I hope I can truth you, and I hope you ate the law enforcement. I get out in about 2 months, and we'll meet and start planning everything. The FBI set up a fake movie on me before, so I'm leery of people and the law. I got colon cancer and would like to live the rest of my life on the street, so don't cross me, please. We can make a lot of money together. Right back. Let me know if we can make it work. Well, so right there, I've got it in his writing that Puff Daddy was involved with him. So, funny though, nobody's ever asked me for that. Okay. But what's interesting is he doesn't really talk about how he wants to get down to the truth of anything and how he wants to talk about what really happened. He's got a hell of a story. He says it's true. But what he's talking to me about is wanting to make money off of it. Well, if you can't make money off of RJ, maybe you find a book to write that you can make money off of. But the motive here isn't about anything about truth. It's not anything about it. It's about making money. Okay. That's what this cat's about. He's about making money. I don't know if he's got colon cancer or not. I mean, for a guy who had colon cancer, I don't see him wearing a colostomy bag. You know, that bag where you take a shit in a bag. I don't see him wearing one of those walking around. Maybe he does when he sits down and do the Vlad interview. I don't know. But, sometimes I would think you would hear rustling or something like that coming from the plastic. But at the end of the day, and I'm not shaming because of somebody who has a disease, that would be insensitive, like saying that somebody wanted to suck your what. Okay. But to sit there and say that you've got colon cancer, and yet this was like 10 years ago plus, now suddenly he's got, dude's a survivor, man. It's like a cockroach. You can't even kill him with colon cancer. Can't even get this guy. I'd say. All right. Yeah, people have what they like to spend money on. I agree. Well, and I'll probably kind of close things on this. I'll run down a few more there. But Philip Burke says, what do you think of the video of Frank's wife explaining what happened to Frank? Well, that's her story. That's her story, and she's sticking to it. She wrote a book about it too. That's her story, and she's sticking to it. That God gave her the password to Frank's laptop, and that God gave her the password to Frank's gun safe. That was all divine intervention that had to happen. Okay. That's her point of view. Mike P says, and he snapped like one picture. Well, I guess that's all he got was one picture, because if Tupac looked like that and I had more than one picture, then the other picture's got to look a whole lot worse than that one. So, I think all he did was take one picture, because that's the only picture that's been out there, and it's not particularly flattering to Tupac. And it doesn't, honestly, Does Tupac look to you like somebody that got asked to take his picture? Or does it look more like to you like somebody got startled when they took a picture of him? So I'm calling bullshit on that on the photographer's claim, because it doesn't look like Tupac got it. You know, if somebody has to take a picture, they smile for you. They don't look like this. You know, that's no. I don't think so. All right. All right. Well, guys, listen, since I did a hell of a live stream tonight, this was a lot of good information that you guys can go back and watch on the replay, go back and see it again. You know, listen, I don't go out there and you know, try to stir up trouble for people, but you know, when people say that I promote lying, dude, listen, I'm not the one that had the federal judge tell me that I was full of shit. Okay. I've never had a federal judge tell me that I'm full of shit and that I was either made intentional misstatements that resulted in people getting search warrants and everything else and corrupting that whole process. I've never been accused of that. I've been accused by the guy who did that of promoting lying. RJ promotes lying. Okay. The Frank was a liar and RJ promotes lying. That's the actual, and I've got the receipt for that too. But so now what that's taught me is that's called a behavioral modification. That means when you want to say that so-and-so lied to the court and Torres Ramos, or he did that, you read the findings of the judge, because the judge was not RJ. The judge was the one who said that he either did something intentionally to alter the search warrant or he did it with reckless disregard for the truth. Either way, bad news. Okay, it wasn't a mistake. And he made sure, that judge made sure in that ruling that there was no bullshit excuse to be given later about making a civil mistake, because he tried that with the judge and the judge is nah. So, but there you go. All right. Yeah, we had a good turnout tonight. It was nice. We had a great turnout of people. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Valentino was here. Discretion TV in the house. We had some people that haven't been around for a while, like Gunsmoke. Glad to see you. Always good to see the knuckleheads here. Again, let's try to double it. Next week we'll see if we can get 140 people in there, and then we'll get 1,000 people in there, and then we'll get 2,000 people in. And we'll get this freaking movement going, because I think what you can tell people is, if you want to get facts, if you want to get detail that you can actually do, okay, then this is where you go. You don't go anyplace else. If you really want to study what's happening, it's like a college course. If you want to study the information, this is where you go. And the people that come here, I love you guys, because y'all are interested in it. You ask good questions and everybody's respectful. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. That ups my game. I hope that ups your game. I hope everybody's happy with what's happening there. We'll catch you on the repeat. Question everything. That whole thing that we went through tonight about Arville and where that was and where that's located. Where would we be if we didn't question it? Question everything, guys, all the way around. Okay? 21 gun salute to you knuckleheads. Question everything. And we'll look forward to talking to you guys. What are we doing? This is Sunday, Tuesday. We'll talk to you then. Take care.